today let us continue with chapter 4, the karma. And in this lecture we will talk on a few topics, including projecting and feeling actions and 3 obstructions, anattaya karma, also how Shakyamuni Buddha completed his journey and obtained Buddhahood, and then the 3 types of meritorious work. We start with projecting and feeling actions. And the thing is, when we continue our talks on karma, it is various actions and effects which to a large extent can guide our way of living and practices in Buddhism. And the reason we talk about this projecting and feeling actions is also because of this. It may serve these theories on actions may serve as a good protection to us from the risky, from the evil, and also an effective booster to our accumulation of good dharmas, of merit and wisdom towards liberation. In our world, as we can see, that people enjoy and suffer in very different ways. Born in higher destinies as humans or as devas does not always guarantee happiness, while born in lower destinies as animals and hungry ghosts and so on does not always necessarily mean suffering for each and every one of them. It's quite individual. Experience when it comes to happiness and suffering. And lives of individual sentient beings are so different that we would like to know what is behind all these differences. So it comes to the topic on projecting and feeling actions. Here is the basic principles of projecting actions, according to Sabstivada, that one action would project only one lifetime, not 2, not 3, not more. And multiple karmas do not determine a single lifetime. And they have a reason for these principles. For instance, one action projects only one lifetime, because they would say otherwise, if it is not so, then the various determined actions, like which would ripen their effects in this life, or in next life, or in future lives, these determined actions will have their orders totally disturbed, and it will be chaotic. It will be quite chaotic regarding their order of ripening effects. And they also have an explanation on this, that multiple karmas do not determine a single lifetime. They would say that if that happens, if multiple karmas will determine one single lifetime, then something like this will happen. A person was born as a human baby first, during maybe the first 5 years, and then in the next 2 or 3 years he suddenly became a dog. And then after that he became a deva, and then later a hungry ghost, whatever, before he dies in this life. So Sabstivadian scholars say, multiple karmas, if they do determine a single lifetime, this kind of thing, this kind of very weird thing will happen. And since it is not happening, that's really, we don't see it in our daily life. Therefore, they say that multiple karmas do not determine a single lifetime. However, the Sautantikas and other schools, they do hold different views regarding these 2 basic principles of projecting actions. They would argue that one action could actually project more than one lifetime, and multiple karmas could also determine a single lifetime, in a combined way, just like multiple forces from different directions, could end up with one joint force when all these forces combined. So different schools, they do have different views. Now let's take a look at the relation between projecting actions and feeling actions. When we say a projecting action, we actually mean that this action will lead a sentient being to a destiny in a general way, that is a universal effect. And feeling actions, they are about specific circumstances, the details of experiences in that life. So they are particular effects. They are leading to particular effects. It's like when a person was born as a human. When he was born as human, as a universal effect, generally he was born to the human destiny. That is due to a projecting action. As for how his or her appearance is, how intelligent he or she is, and what about the family situation, the fortune and the physical strength, a social status or lifespan, things like this are due to the feeling actions, are due to the ripening of the feeling actions. So we do have an analogy of this. It's like a painter. He painted a sketch. He painted a sketch of like for a few touches with a pencil or whatever, and then he draws this frame that very shortly you will see that he is painting a human, and that is the general destiny by the projecting action. And after that, he will start to add more touches, more colors, and he will use different pencils and different colors, more details in that painting. That is pretty much like the feeling actions, the specific circumstances adding to that human. So we can do a fourfold analysis for this too, projecting or feeling actions. The first group is that with good projecting action and bad feeling actions. It's like humans or devas in the desire realm who experience suffering. We are familiar with humans in our realm that suffer in many different ways. But it's also good to know that some of the devas, not all of them of course, some devas, they might also experience suffering. As we read in the text of Buddhism, it says that a few devas, when they could not get enough food, they might come down to our human places and they might steal some fruits from the park just to make sure they have some food. So not every deva enjoys to the same extent. The second group is bad projecting action but with good feeling actions. A very representative example would be the Yama King, the Lord of the Pretas. Some say it is also the Lord of Hells. So the Yama King obviously has a bad projecting action which makes him a hungry ghost. However, he is the king of the hungry ghost, so he has the power, he has the reputation, he has the enjoyments. Therefore, he has definitely, this is due to good feeling actions in his previous lives. And the third group is both good projecting action and good feeling actions. For instance, the 33 gods or the Kakavati kings, they are born as humans and gods. Well, that's already due to good projecting action. And they are the gods and they are the kings of human. They have power, they have fortune, they have reputation. That's definitely due to good feeling actions. And the last group is sentient being with both bad projecting action and bad feeling actions. And typically the beings in hell, they were born into the hell due to bad projecting action, and they suffer almost all the time, non-stop. That is due to bad feeling actions. Mhm. And we need also to know that not all actions can serve as projecting actions, depending on the power or strength. For instance, the non-conception samapati or the cessation samapati, as we have mentioned them in chapter 2, they do not have the ability to project sentient beings into a specific destiny because their karmic power, the karmic force is too weak. It is they are without mind or mental events. That's the main reason. So they're not capable as projecting actions. However, they are feeling actions to be ripened in either the non-conception stage in the fourth dhyana or in the bhavagra. As a feeling action, that's okay. But if you may wonder that if they are not able to project sentient beings into the non-conception stage in the fourth dhyana or into the bhavagra in the formless realm, then what kind of actions serve as the projecting action to drag their lives into non-conception or bhavagra? So the answer for that is that their life faculty and sameness is projected by the fourth dhyana meditation or the samapati of the bhavagra. That is the projecting action in these two cases, respectively. Next, let's talk about the three obstructions. We have, as in the sutra, it's claimed that we have three kinds of obstructions for sentient beings. And by obstruction, it means it will prevent us from cultivating the good dhammas, preventing us from liberation from the samsara. So three obstructions. The first one is karmic. And by karmic, we do not mean any good or bad actions. We mean specifically the 5 anantaya offenses. They are killing one's mother, killing one's father, killing an arhat, causing a season in a sangha, and causing the Buddha to bleed with an evil thought. So the first question is, why are they called anantaya? What does anantaya mean? Vasubandhu said, for two reasons that these offenses are called anantaya. First, the retributive effect of these actions are not to be hindered or separated or interfered by any other actions or lives. They have a 100% certain retribution in the next life. And the second reason is that the Pudgala who with such actions will surely fall into hells when they die, non-stop, not into any other destinies. So for these two reasons, these offenses are called anantaya, as they're named so. Anantaya is translated in Chinese, the Chinese word for anantaya, wujian. It means actually non-interruption, non-stop. The next question is why these 5? Why these 5 why establishing these 5 as anantaya offenses, not the other actions? Well, according to Mahavabhasha, first, these 5 are definitely obstructions. While other good or bad actions, they could be obstructions to our liberation, and they could, and maybe not. The second is that there are 5 reasons to establish these 5 offenses as anantaya offenses. First, by nature. These 5 are certainly extremely serious bad actions in nature. And second, by destiny. These 5 are determined to be reborn in hells, not other destinies. Third, by the time of retribution. They are determined retributive actions that would ripen in the next life, not this life, not future life, not indeterminate. And then by effect as well, these 5 would lead to the most miserable suffering effects. And then by Pudgala, most apparent, because people or sentient beings carrying out these offenses, they are most apparent to be seen or to be recognized. As we also say in our daily life, if we know someone who has done this kind of offenses, we could say that it is he's the man who killed his mother, or she is the lady who killed her father, and so on. Very obvious, very apparent, and they are the most notorious in the world. That's about the karmic obstruction. The next kind is the afflictive obstructions. Well, that we talk about the defilements, but not all defilements. Only the chronic defilements, not necessarily sharp, of course, but only the chronic defilements which require effort or antidotes to overcome are established as afflictive obstructions. This is very important. Because on the contrary, those sharp, casual defilements are not considered as afflictive obstructions. For example, you get a bit angry this morning, and that anger lasted, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 seconds. Then it is gone. So it is defilement, of course, but it is not a chronic one. So it is not an afflictive obstruction. It doesn't really require some extra additional effort or antidotes to overcome it. It's coming, it's going, come and go. So it's not really an obstruction, but still it's a defilement. And then, of course, we'll talk about these defilements more in chapter 5. And about chronic or sharp, we can also do a fourfold analysis. For instance, we have chronic but not sharp defilements. Well, those are afflictive obstructions. And then we have sharp but not chronic defilements. They're not afflictive obstructions. Then we have the most serious type, the chronic and sharp defilements. That's really, really serious, which are, of course, also afflictive obstructions. And then we have defilements that are neither chronic nor sharp. They are less serious and not afflictive obstructions. So the next, the third obstruction is called retributive obstructions. They refer to rebirth in the 3 lower destinies, or in the Uttarakudu, the northern continent, or in the Dhyana heaven of non-conception. These are called retributive obstructions because sentient beings reborn into any of these places, they do not really have an opportunity to cultivate their good dharmas or practice for liberation. That's and it's caused by the retribution. So what these 3 obstructions can do, all of these can obstruct the noble path and the 4 good routes preparatory to the noble path, or we say conductive to penetration, that are the heat, the summit, receptivity, and the supreme mundane dharma. That's the function. That's what they can do. That's why we call them obstructions. And then we need to know the scope. The karmic obstructions, they are present only among humans in the 3 continents, and also absent. You don't have this kind of karmic obstructions in Uttarakudu or the lower destinies or the gods or eunuchs. So these are in a way very similar to those who can cut off their good roots. And the retributive obstructions, they are found only in the lower destinies, heaven of the non-conception, as well as the northern, the Uttarakudu, the northern continent. So if we combine these two, the scope of karmic and retributive obstructions, it is easy to see that a person cannot possess karmic and retributive obstructions at the same time. For instance, a person who's born in Uttarakuru, he has this retributive obstruction and no chance to cultivate good dhammas. But he would not have this karmic obstruction at the same time. Yeah. Okay, and then about the afflictive obstructions, that kind and those defilements, those chronic defilements, they're actually universally present. They're everywhere, across all 5 destinies of existence, in all 3 realms. As long as they are chronic, that needs to be overcome with some effort or antidotes or cultivation and so on. When it comes to antidotes, we need to know that what kind of dharmas can be used as an antidote or cure these obstructions. Well, for the afflictive obstructions, mainly the defilements, of course, we need discernment from hearing, from reflection, and from cultivation. Only the discernment, or in our daily words, only the wisdom, the good one, can help to abandon these defilements. And then for the karmic obstructions, it would be quite difficult, according to Shravakayana teachings. However, according to Mahayana, they could also be overcome or alleviated or even destroyed. For instance, via confession and repentance in a Mahayana way. As for the last kind, the retributive obstructions, that is another case, because they are effects already ripened, and there is no direct antidotes for this kind of obstruction, because the effects are already there. Even Buddha cannot do anything directly to help these sentient beings to get rid of the ripened effect immediately. Like if a sentient being has done some bad actions in a previous life, and in this life he was born as an animal, so even Buddha cannot just change that animal into a human body immediately. It doesn't make sense. And also, Buddha can teach human beings how to avoid falling into the lower destinies. However, he cannot just drag or throw the hell beings out of the hell. Not possible. So we're talking about the level of seriousness, according to Mahavibhasha. As I quote the sentences from Mahavibhasha, some says that the retributive obstruction is the most serious, as the ripened effect cannot be changed, and others say that it is the karmic obstruction which is the most serious, because it leads to the retributive. You have the karmic obstructions, then it will lead to the retributive, like being born in a hell. And in this case, according to Mahavibhasha, the afflictive obstruction is the most serious, as it can arise the karmic, and the karmic then causes the retributive. So all are based on defilements. Therefore, the afflictive obstructions are the most serious. According to Vasubandhu, in his commentary to explain this treatise, that both the afflictive and the karmic obstructions are the most serious, as neither of them can be counteracted or cured in the next life. So both are serious, the most serious. Next, let's take a look at the 5 Anantaya Karma. Let's take a closer look. As we already know what they are, right? The 5: killing one's mother, killing one's father, killing an arhat, and causing a season in Sangha, and causing a Buddha to bleed with an evil thought. Among them, the first 3 are bodily actions. They are killing in nature. And causing a season in the Sangha, they are false speech, so it's a vocal action by nature. And causing the Buddha to bleed with an evil thought, meaning someone who wants to kill the Buddha, but he will not manage to, because Buddha cannot be killed by someone. However, he has this evil thought, he wants to kill, and in the end, he managed to cause the Buddha to bleed. And that is a preparatory action of killing. That is a bodily action as well. And who has done it? It reminds us Devadatta. Devadatta was also the one who managed to cause a schism in the Sangha at Buddha's time. So we have two categories of causing a schism in Sangha, which we should keep in mind. Because when we say causing a schism in the Sangha as a kind of anantaya karma, we mean specifically the first category of that. That is breaking of a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha. And the Dhamma-Vaya Sangha existed only during Buddha's lifetime. So why do we call them a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha? Because breaking of such a Sangha has a terrible, really terrible effect. Before this Dhamma-Vaya Sangha is reunited again, all the noble path, all the cultivation along the path of liberation, all the noble beings that are progressing towards perfection will be stopped. So that's how terrible it is. That's a very serious effect. And so breaking of such a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha is established as a anantaya karma. And another category is breaking of a karma sangha, which is an assembly with the monastic acts guided by Vinaya. And so we have this kind of karma sangha everywhere in the world, in many temples, as long as they follow monastic acts and they're guided by Vinaya, by disciplines. We can call them a sangha, a karma sangha. Also, a sangha is not a name reserved only for those ordained monks or nuns. For lay Buddhists, male or female, as long as their group, if they assemble with also with monastic acts, they're also guided by Vinaya, and there are more than 4 people, they can also be called a sangha, a karma sangha. So here I just want to say that only the first category of this, the Dhamma, breaking of a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha, would constitute an anantaya offense, or the second category, though not an anantaya karma, still a very, very bad karma, and which will lead to effects ripen in the lower destinies. Let's discuss a bit more on the breaking of a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha. First of all, the cause is false speech that incites or encourages division. And we all know what Devadatta has done. About Devadatta, we have different views from Hinayana and Mahayana. According to Hinayana, he is obviously a destructive, negatively behaving monk due to his previous vows, due to his previous evil vows many lives ago. And according to Mahayana, however, he, especially for example in the Lotus Sutra, Devadatta is a noble being, a bodhisattva. He followed Shakyamuni Buddha in many lives, and every time he did things against Shakyamuni in a way to help or facilitate his perfection, or to help Shakyamuni accumulate merit and wisdom. The effect of this breaking of Dhamma-Vaya Sangha is rebirth in Avicii hell for a small kalpa. Oh, that's the worst effect ever. And about the continent where, so only in this southern continent, Jambudvipa, where we live now, and where Buddhas appear, where this happened, where this breaking of a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha happened. Because where there is a Buddha, there is a Dhamma-Vaya Sangha. Where there is no Buddha, you don't find this Dhamma-Vaya Sangha. So it is excluded in other continents or specific times as well, like at the first turning of the Dhamma wheel by Buddha or at the Buddha's parinirvana. During these specific times, the breaking of Dhamma wheel Sangha will not happen. And about the numerical requirement, we say at least 9 monks should be involved. So as it is a season of the Sangha causing a complete a whole Sangha to be divided into 2. And then we say that a Sangha requires at least 4 members. So 4 plus 4, that's 8, plus then you need someone to do it, to actually say the false speech, to divide the Sangha. Then it's someone like Devadatta. So it's at least 9 people. Well, in a way, we know that a noble being alone cannot be called a Sangha, but that's another case. And a noble being will never be involved or participate in this kind of anantaya karma. They know the truth. They know exactly what Buddha says and know what Buddha means, and truly they have realized the truth themselves. So they won't be involved in such. About the duration, so 1 day, because the Sangha will reunite again before the night. And the criteria, how do we say, to which extent and when shall we say that the Sangha has actually been separated, been broken? That is the moment when the Sangha accepts another master and another path. For instance, a few newcomers, a few new monks, they have accepted Devadatta as their new master instead of Buddha, and they have accepted the new path as the new rules made by Devadatta. What kind of new rules? Well, Devadatta actually made a few rules that are way more stricter. That are stricter than the rules made by Buddha. For instance, he would ask his followers for their entire lifetimes to stop all meat, all dairy products, those milk-based dairy products, and even salt. Salt is not allowed. And he would ask them to beg for food only, to wear bad clothes only, to sleep outside only, and the food should be taken with 1 sitting only. So you see why these new rules. In a way, he wanted to make these new rules that are stricter than Buddha's rules, in order to gain more fame, more reputation, to show people that he is actually a better practitioner of Buddhism. So he can attract some newcomers. He can fool them to follow him. And about those divided, only fools, only some newcomers who have not much idea about Buddhism or Buddha's teaching yet. They easily believed in Devadatta, not the noble ones, and I've explained why. About the location, not at the place where the Buddha is. Obviously, because if you do this, if you try to divide the Sangha in front of Buddha, you will not succeed, due to the unrivaled power and reputation of Buddha in the public. Now, who is capable? Who is capable to do this, to break the Sangha? Well, it must be fully ordained, not a novice or layperson. It must be intellectual, not passionate. It must be virtuous. It's someone who can obey, who can follow the disciplines like perfectly. Not immoral ones who break the disciplines. And must be a bhikshu, not a bhikshuni or others. So with all these requirements, who came into your mind? Well, Devadatta. Obviously, he already has some kind of reputation among the group, especially among the newcomers. So this is what I share with more details regarding this anantaya karma that is causing a schism in the Sangha. Yeah. After that, we will continue talking about the completion of Buddhahood and 3 types of meritorious work.